Nice. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, I'm Ian Williams from CrossFit Good Fortune. I'm one of our nutrition coaches here. With me today and tag teaming this with me is Christine, our other nutrition coach at CrossFit Good Fortune. What's that?
You're like a SEAL trainer.
A SEAL trainer. She'll give me treats and I'll do tricks for her later. So today we are here to talk about nutrition and food prep specifically. So before we kick this off though, I'm gonna trip over that at some point. I wanna take an audience poll here. So raise your hand with me. Raise your hand if you are on this side of our food prep scale where you have all of your containers pre-labeled, everything meal-wise is labeled in your fridge, prepped, ready to go for the entire week ahead of time, and you're all set today for this full week. It's not labeled, but you have everything ready to go in your fridge?
I did that last week and it was a big help.
Nice, okay. Well, I'm gonna sit down and you're gonna do the rest of this one. All right, raise your hand if you're over on this side and the only way you're getting a pre-prepared meal is if you go through a drive-thru on the way home from work. Okay, that's cool. I'll admit, I'm in that side sometimes, so yeah, that happens to us for sure. So what I wanna show you today is that there's a range of food prep options with Christine in the middle, and I'm actually gonna say you're probably gonna end up somewhere in the middle. So our goal with this isn't to get you set up to where you're doing that full food prep for every meal for the entire week. If you do want to do that, it's totally fine, but you don't have to do that to get a lot of the benefit from food preps. So that's what we're going to go through today. Here's the topics that we're going to go over today. We're going to start with the 3 nutrition principles that we have. We've partnered with HSN, Healthy Steps Nutritions, and these are going to be the 3 guiding principles for our process here. I want to go through these first because I want you to think about these as we go through the rest of the food prep stuff, and you'll see how food prep really helps you meet these 3 principles. Then we're going to know 3 options to get you started with food prep. My goal is to give you 3. You're going to pick one, and by the end of this, that's the one you're going to do for this coming week or the week after, whatever you want to do. There are 3 that are going to be pretty straightforward and easy to kind of baby step you into this. Then we're going to talk about tips and FAQ. So this is going to be tips on how you can actually go about the food prep stuff and what will set you up for success on that. And then finally, we're going to leave you with how we can further support you on your food prep journey with what the gym can do and the nutrition program can do to kind of help you with your food prep. All right, so I said we're going to start with our nutrition principles first. Hopefully you can read these. But these are the 3 founding guiding principles for our nutrition program. Number 1, whole foods first. So the focus here is your body is designed to eat and get nutrients from actual food. So the more whole foods that you get, the more energy, the more nutrition, and the better you will be and feel from your meals. Number 2, a balance. So we've got the big terms balance for macronutrients on the board, but really what this kind of comes down to is our plate method, which you may have seen before. But the idea is half of your plate is with non-starchy, we call them volume veggies, but these are things like your lettuce, your broccoli, your zucchini, things like that. A quarter of your plate is going to be your protein. So this could be fish, this could be chicken, this could be eggs, tofu. It doesn't have to be meat. Just whatever your protein source is going to be a quarter of your plate. And then the last quarter is going to be your starchy carbs. These are going to be the things that are going to help you feel full and get your energy, which are going to be like sweet potatoes, quinoa, beans, things like that. So that's what we're looking for, a balance as we go in. And the last one is going to be minimizing processed carbs, sugar, and alcohol. So honestly, this last one is kind of one of the most important. If you can do this, you are going to feel so much better and it's going to have the greatest impact on your lifespan. But here's the thing, you don't actually have to do this. If you do 1 and 2, that's going to kind of take care of 3 for you. If you start to focus on whole foods and eating the right balance of those whole foods, you'll find those sugars and those like prepared like packaged snacks are just going to kind of fall away as you do that. Questions on our nutrition principle? Can anyone see how food prep would help you with this? Right? Like if you have something ready to go in your fridge, you're going to be less likely to grab a bag of goldfish that we have on our counter right now. So what Christine is doing is actually doing some food prep for us as we do this talk. So there are some energy balls. I think they're just called Sam's Energy Balls on our recipe page, which we'll show you later. But these are going to be a great snack and they follow our guidelines. So they have whole foods like the oats in there. They're a good balance of all the different pieces that you need, protein, carbs, and fat. So these are a great example of things that you can do for a breakfast or just as a snack. I'm gonna now give you your 3 options to kind of get started. I'm gonna go through why you might pick this one and kind of what the benefits are for them. So first one I have here is prepping breakfast. Real quick, who does not eat breakfast? I do a protein shake. Protein shake, okay, that's not bad. Nice, so everyone else is eating breakfast. That's awesome. So one of the things that I struggle with is getting a breakfast on my way out the door for work to work. So often I'll try and get something, but it's a shake or a bar sometimes. So this breakfast option is a great way to prepare a breakfast for an entire week that'll help you kind of have that full whole foods and balance, but still have something that's easy to take with you. So who should pick this option? If you're struggling to get whole foods in your breakfast, this is a great option to do. And the reason why it works so well is because most of us are probably fine with doing a big batch of something and then eating it every day throughout the week for breakfast. Like if you make a bunch of muffins, you can have that Monday through Friday and you're not going to get too tired of it, kind of thing. So this is a good default one if the other two options don't stand out to you. But breakfast, prepping one breakfast that you kind of eat throughout the week for all your breakfasts, great way to go. All right, option number 2. Maybe, there we go, prep pieces. So this one's a funny one because we were actually already planning this. And then I don't know if like the Google heard us talking about it, but Christine came on her TikTok, Instagram, something like that, was a post about someone talking about how professional chefs actually do this in restaurants. When you go in to order some food from a restaurant, they're not making it fully 100% from scratch back there every time, right? No, right? Yeah. Chris knows. No, they've got stuff that are prepared, ready to go and kind of throw it together. They got a big pot of stock they use for sauces. They got vegetables that are pre-chopped and meat that's pre-portioned kind of thing. And when you order it, they put it all together and do like the finishing touches. And that's something that we can definitely take to our homes as well. You don't have to have 5 dinners prepared. You can have a big pot of chicken prepared. You can have a whole bunch of vegetables chopped up, and you can have a couple of different things you can throw on for sauces. And this way you can have the same basic ingredients throughout the week, but it's you can change up the flavors. You can make it like Mexican one night or throw in some soy sauce to make it Asian the next night kind of thing. Who this one's gonna be good for? This is gonna be good for you if you have time to cook at night, but you just don't have a lot of time or you don't have a lot of energy. So you wanna make it easier for yourself throughout the entire week. I will say this also works really well for lunches, and I'm gonna point that out once we get to some of the actual recipes. If you have this stuff ready to go for a lunch, you can toss it all together in a bowl real quick, and it makes it really easy to get those prepared lunches. And your last option to kind of step your way into food prep is to actually just pick a dinner and do that. So I was talking earlier about how occasionally we get takeout or pickup kind of thing. And why that is because there's just one night where I'm just too tired to cook or it's just too late. So if I have a dinner prepared in our fridge, I don't have to do that. I just already have it ready to go. And if that's your need, if you just have one night a week that you find you're not cooking, then this is a good way to do that. And actually, when we get to it, I'm going to show you how you can actually spread this into 2 nights pretty easily. If you make one of these meals, but double the recipe, right? That's 2 different meals that you have for the price of one, essentially. So who this works out well for, this is going to work well for somebody, like I said, who cooks most of the time and doesn't have a problem with it, but has one night a week where they just can't cook for some reason. This will fill that gap pretty well. All right, so now you guys have to choose. I'm going to make you choose right now. You have a second to think about it, but I'm gonna make you choose breakfast. So if you just want to have breakfast prepared throughout the week, that's a great way to do it. If you wanna go with the prepared pieces, or if you wanna go for a single dinner to step our way into this. So raise your hand if you're going breakfast. Nice, breakfast is a great one. Raise your hand if you're going with prepared pieces. Nice, Cheryl's going there. Who's going for a single dinner? Nice, beautiful, love it. So I want you to keep these in mind, and we're actually gonna go through and kind of plan these out as we go. So the first thing that you're gonna have to do, I'm gonna grab my worksheet to remember, so I can remember what's on it. The first thing that we're gonna have to do is plan our time and plan what we wanna do. It sounds like it's a no-brainer, of course, you have to plan out, but really this is where you're gonna set yourself up for success. If you don't take the time to plan, you're not gonna be ready to go for the other stuff. And if you don't do this, you're just never gonna do the follow-on steps, all right? So we're actually gonna do the planning in here using this sheet. All right, so first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you, if you have your phones and you're good with using them, I highly recommend you do this on your own. Otherwise, I'm gonna pull it up here, scan this QR code, go to our recipes page. If you don't wanna scan the QR code and you just wanna pull it up, it's CrossFitGoodFortune.com. And then you're just gonna click nutrition and recipes. And I'll actually go to this in a second. Like I said, if you don't wanna do it on your own, I will have it up on the board, but I want you to look through the recipes and actually pick one so that'll be easier on your phone. One of the things that comes with our HSN app that we do with our nutrition program is a direct link to these recipes in the app on the home screen. So it's an easy way to go from your nutrition app where you're tracking everything straight to these recipes. So if you're following along with me up here, you're just gonna click nutrition and then you're gonna click recipes, and this is gonna take you to our recipes page where we have everything kind of lined up. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, treats, etc. If your choice today was breakfast, you have a really easy job. You're gonna look through this breakfast list right here and you're gonna pick one of them. They're almost all set up for that kind of batch process and then eating throughout the week. So they're almost all ready to go for you like that. If you don't have one that if you're kind of having a hard time deciding, I actually recommend just this top one. It's really great. Sweet potato hash egg muffin. It's got all the things that we talked about earlier. It's got the eggs for protein, sweet potato for your starchy vegetables, and it's got some other vegetables mixed in for your general like nutrition vegetables. If you're doing pieces, you've got a couple of different ways you can do this. So this is option 2. You can either scroll through, find yourself a protein from like the dinner option. There's one in here that is a turkey meatloaf. The meatloaf muffins. That's a great protein option, so you can pick that for your protein. And then we have snacks and side dishes down here that you could do for your other stuff, and you can kind of just prepare those individual ingredients. Or another good way of doing this is actually gonna be in the lunches. There's a Greek chicken bowl, and actually there's several bowls on this page. The bowls are great because it is essentially that pieces idea. If you click on that Greek chicken bowl, it's gonna tell you to cook the chicken, chop the vegetables, and then mix it all together. So if you're doing the different individual pieces, you just cook the chicken, chop the vegetables, and don't mix it. And then throughout the week, as you're looking to build these meals, that's when you'd mix it, add in your barbecue sauce to make it barbecue chicken instead of Greek, or add in the dressing that you made to make it a Greek dressing kind of thing. And then finally, if you're going for dinner, you're just gonna scroll down and you're gonna pick one of your dinner options, all right? So go ahead, find the recipe you wanna do, and on this page, and actually the QR code and the URL are on this page as well, in case you want it later, go ahead and write the name of the recipe that you're looking at. Perfect. All right, so if we take a look at our workbook, our next thing that we're gonna have to do this is we're gonna have to plan out how we're gonna actually get the stuff and cook it. So I've got 4 different places for you to write dates and times. Those dates and times, they don't have to be actual dates in specific times. It can be like Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning kind of thing, whatever you want to do there. And we are actually going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So I want you to think about it. When do you want to eat this meal throughout the week? So if you're doing a breakfast, it's probably you're going to put Monday morning. If you're doing a dinner, maybe you're going to cook for Tuesdays, you can do Tuesday at PM. All right, once you've got your day that you're gonna have to eat, that you're planning to eat this meal, we're gonna just step back and say, when are we gonna cook this meal? It's clearly gotta be before the day you're eating, but it can be quite a bit before. So if you're starting with breakfast on Monday, you could pick a Sunday morning to cook. Nice, now that you got your time period where you're gonna be cooking, we need to find when are we actually gonna be shopping for this, because that's gonna be the biggest thing that we need to do before we can cook. So we'll go ahead, same thing, figure out when is your shopping day, and when is your shopping time. This can be right before you cook, or it could be a couple days before. It doesn't really matter, just whatever fits your schedule. And the last thing you need to do is figure out when you're going to be planning these out. So the planning session is what we're doing right now, but for the next time you do this, when is that planning session gonna be? Like if you're cooking on a Saturday afternoon, maybe you take Saturday morning and take 30 minutes to do your planning, figure out what recipe you wanna do and what ingredients you need, that kind of thing. So go ahead, figure out what day of the week and rough time frame are you gonna be doing your planning session. Now that you have that, let's talk about what you're actually gonna be doing in that planning session. So we have our time frame. That planning session primarily is gonna be deciding what recipes you're gonna do. So best way to do that, come to this page again, and you're gonna just scroll through, find the options that you want, and pick those for the next week. And then you're also gonna click into these recipes. So go ahead and do this now if you haven't already. Click into your specific recipe and take a look through the ingredients. Those are gonna be the big pieces that you need to make sure that you get before you can start your cooking. So I know you may not have an idea of what's actually in your pantry right now, but as best you can, try and kind of write down some of the things on your page that you're going to need to go ahead and purchase if you know what they are. So if we're talking our breakfast sweet potato hash, I'm gonna click into this, not cook into this. I'm gonna go to my ingredients. I definitely don't have any sweet potatoes at home. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a sweet potato, write that down. I know I've got eggs, I know I've got olive oil, I do have egg whites. I don't have turkey bacon, but I do have ham, so I can go with that. So now I've got a list of the things that I know I need to buy at the store and the stuff that I already have. So when I go to the grocery store, I'm not just wandering around trying to guess. I've got a specific list, and it's gonna set you up for success. So we're gonna try and keep it simple. What do we mean by that? Well, don't go out of your gate trying to make like the most gourmet meal you've ever had in your life. Like you can work your way to that, but we wanna make sure this is something that's gonna be easily repeatable for ourselves. If it takes 6 hours to prep one meal, that's probably not worth it. But if we can keep this kind of simple, then we can kind of make it something we're gonna be able to easily do every week, and then you can always build on it later if you want to. Some other things that can help with this is keep your cooking techniques simple and use what you have in your kitchen. For example, I was making our crock-pot chili earlier, and that calls for cutting up a bell pepper. Like I can go through and cut it up by hand, but I also have a food processor and I need to cut up a whole bunch of peppers. So I toss them in the food processor and let it do the work for me. So it's not perfect, but it's gonna get me in a good spot much easier and quicker than it would if I'd done it the other ways. So the other things with keeping it simple, this especially goes for things like where you're prepping the pieces, Cheryl, like you were talking about. Go with big pieces that you can use across a variety of meals, or this applies for all of them as well. But so for example, if I'm gonna prep chicken, I can just do like a rotisserie chicken or like a crock-pot chicken and have shredded chicken ready in the fridge, and that can be used in a whole bunch of different stuff. So keeping it simple in that way as well. Beans are another good one, peppers, they go in a lot of different meals and a lot of different varieties. So try and think about that as you're deciding what you want to prep and prepare. Think about how you can reuse things. Next is cook in bulk. So we already talked about this as well. If you're doing a dinner like that crock-pot chili, double the recipe, or actually it may be enough depending on how many people you're feeding, it may be already be doubled. But cook in bulk like that. If you're doing chicken, do a bunch of chicken that'll last you for several parts in the week. And then, like I said earlier, most of our breakfast recipes are already set up for this. So when you go and look at the recipe, check out the serving, see what you need. But most of like when you're making the muffins, you're gonna make a whole batch. So that is one way that you can make this a lot easier for yourself by cooking the same thing, but in bulk to provide you multiple meals. And then the last thing with this cooking in bulk is kind of getting back to those bowls options I mentioned earlier. I wanted to point you at those again. So like the Greek bowl, there's a Buddha bowl on a recipe list. These really set you up for success because they're so versatile. It's cooking individual pieces of things, putting it together. So it's a great way to cook in bulk and then have different meals from it. Okay, so we're gonna invest in some quality containers. I actually don't have a great representation over there. Those are what we have at home. But one of the things that we're gonna look at investing into is glass containers. So Christine has actually recently done a hormone health masterclass where she really got into the stuff about like how plastics and cooking in plastics or reheating things in plastics can kind of leach into your foods. You don't have that problem with glass. So that's why a glass container can be much better for you. So you also, if you invest in these nice glass ones that will have lids that'll last you a long time, you can do things like keep notes on them of when you cooked it, so you know when to eat it by and that kind of thing. So going and taking a little bit of time and money and investing into some good containers can really set you up long run to stay on this food prep habit.
So one of the things about investing in quality containers, it can be kind of overwhelming. You don't have to do it all at once, right? It's the same thing about prepping and starting small. One thing at a time, you just kind of maybe one small, you start cleaning out your cabinet, maybe you start to replace some things one by one. We're going to kind of do a whole turnover just because we're going to be throwing a lot of things in our kitchen out in a couple of months. So that's when we're going to do ours, right? So find what works for you and just make those slow process turnover, but definitely just try to not heat in plastic. That is definitely lesson number one for that.
Okay, the other thing is bulk cooking gadgets. So I've actually already mentioned a couple of these. These can drastically cut down the amount of time you're spending in that prep stage. So good ones are crock pots, food processors, mixers, rice grain cookers, things like that. These are all gonna let you cook and prep in bulk without having to like dirty up a whole bunch of different pots and pans. So definitely recommend you take a look at some of those things, and some of the recipes that we have will actually recommend those as well. So like the crock pot chili, clearly recommending a crock pot for that one.
All right. So with that, if you're somebody that brings lunch, I did a deep dive on lunch boxes as part of the kids and family course I'm taking right now. So if you are looking at a lunchbox option, we want to look for things that are leak proof, liquid proof. Ideally, if possible, stainless or glass, right? Trying to steer clear of plastic. But if you are going to go plastic, some things to look at when you're looking at different brands is it BPA free, no PVC, no phthalates, lead, or vinyl, right? These are some good brands to check out. Benko, Black Huda, Kinsho bento boxes, and Snackle boxes. Those have a variety of sizes as well as portions already done as well. So if you're somebody that has a family and kids and you're trying to portion out their lunches for the day, you can do that as well. But it's also perfectly great for adults that are packing lunch. Or if you're going on a trip or going away somewhere for the day and you're taking snacks with you, these are all really good things to think about.
All right, time savings. I wanted to cover this one really quick because I feel like this is one of those things that comes up sometimes on a barrier to entry to meal prep because you think, I just don't have time to prep. But I want to point out that 2 hours for prepping on a Sunday versus 30 minutes every night. So if you think about that, you're saving your time by prepping. It's just you got to combine everything into one day. So it's worth taking the extra effort to block off that time to do because it is going to save you every night and set you up for a better nutrition and health as you get those whole foods and the better proportions. So not only is it helping you be healthier, in the long run, it is going to save you time. Okay, so we got a couple of other general questions that we've heard people ask. I wanted to go over. How do I store meal prep properly? So a couple of things with this. Christine already covered the kind of containers that you want to use. Glass is preferably kind of thing. But the other things that we want to keep an eye on is we want some way of tracking when you made them. Because if you made it Sunday and you're figuring it's now coming up on the next Sunday, maybe those ingredients aren't going to be as fresh anymore. So one good thing to do on this is have some way of keeping track of the date, either with like a marker on the lid or sticky notes or something like that on the actual container. A couple of other things. We want to if we're doing something that we have to cook and then put in the fridge, make sure you let that cool down a little bit before you put it in. If you put something really hot in your fridge, you're going to raise the temp of your fridge, which could spoil other things in there as well. And then finally, think about keeping things separate, even if it's for part of one meal. So for example, if I'm making that Greek chicken salad bowl, that comes with a dressing with it, I don't want to put the dressing on until I'm ready to eat. That's going to be the same if you have like a wet and dry ingredients as well. So even if it's already for one specific meal, like rice and beans, maybe keep the beans and the rice separate and then mix them right when you're ready to eat. That way it doesn't things don't get soggy and start to, get mushy on you. What color is she getting? Yes. And then this is an interesting one. How do I stay motivated? Because you've got your plan now. You can go right to the store, buy the stuff, and get into this meal prepping. How do you stay motivated throughout the week after that? And as you continue on. And what it's going to come down to is building a consistent habit. So what I would really recommend is don't just go off of these days and times that you have in here. Set yourself an alarm or a calendar or something along those lines that is going to actually trigger you at that time to okay, this is my meal prep time. I'm going to set aside time and go do it. And then you're going to build that habit, and eventually it's going to be like brushing your teeth. You're not even going to think about it. It's going to be like, oh yeah, I've always meal prepped kind of thing. So that's what you're going to have to do with this. I would also say another way to keep this interesting though is you saw that long list of recipes we had. Try new things. Maybe try something you wouldn't have ever had before. That can kind of keep it fun and interesting and kind of challenge you a little bit as you go about it. Tag in.
So another way to stay motivated is to also make this a little bit of a family affair, right? Something you guys can all do together. We've mapped out some ideas of things that kids can do based across age to kind of get them involved with meal prep and food, kind of introduce them to cooking, right? So kids 2 to 5, they're washing fruits and vegetables. They can help out with that, tearing lettuce for salads. I have stir, spread, sprinkle, pour, bash, right? Those are all those fun things that they can do. It also provides you an opportunity for those young kids to practice their math skills, right? Sorting, counting. 6 to 12, step up a little bit. If you have kid-safe tools, peel, grate, chop, right? They can start to learn some of those things. Mix and knead. They can start to read you the recipe, crack eggs, measure. And then 13 plus, have them plan out a meal, make a grocery list, and maybe learn how to cook a dish on their own. Some of the teenagers that I work with as clients for personal training, they are responsible for cooking one dish a week in their homes. Pack lunches, right? They know what they kind of want to eat. We can kind of steer them towards healthy, balanced options so they can start to build some of these habits as they're younger. They can experiment with recipes, maybe make a smoothie or a snack. Really great opportunity for them to learn how to make healthy snacks when they get home from school, right? So then they're not reaching for those like bags of chips and stuff like that. So, and this also kind of keeps it fun. It's then an activity, not so much of a chore.
So I want to kind of wrap this up for you before we get into how we can help support going forward and remind you of what we talked about because it was a bunch. So to start with, you're going to choose a start. You already did this. Breakfast, pieces, or dinner. And don't forget, you can always switch this up the next time around. If you do breakfast this time, want to do dinner next week, totally fine. Then you're going to keep your 3 principles in mind. Whole foods first, balance, minimize sugar. Remember, if you do the first 2, that third one just kind of falls into place. And then you're actually going to go ahead, plan ahead, figure out your days and times, keep it simple, and then cook in bulk. All right, so we talked about how we can kind of get you started. Want to roll into a little bit of what we offer here at Good Fortune to kind of help you along with this process. There's no real super secret here. This is all stuff that is kind of almost common sense. I don't want to say common sense, but it's almost common sense. And it's just a matter of doing it that's the hard part. So we have a thing where I like to say it's simple, not easy. Our nutrition program is here to help with that not easy piece. So what we would do is we would help you very similar to this. We'd walk you through what you want to do for your goal, and then we build a plan with days, times, and help you kind of stick with it. So that's what the nutrition program does with this, or our health program does. And that's how it would fit into this meal prepping. As a quick reminder with our coaching program, we don't just focus on nutrition. This one was all about food prep, which does kind of center on the nutrition pieces. But our health program here is kind of holistic. So we touch on sleep, nutrition, lifestyle, support system, exercise, and stress management. So we can assist in the same way with all those different pieces of your life. We've also had multiple people already working with us that have made some big strides. So take a look through this if you're interested. And then if you want to learn more, let's get through these a little bit. Come talk to Christine or myself, or book a discovery call with us just on our website. There's a button in the top right-hand corner that says book a discovery call. We can go through and help you with either your meal prep goals and help you plan out and meet those, or help you with a different piece of this as well, your sleep, your stress, that kind of stuff.